everyone. So before we get started, I want to just put out some trigger warnings. We're going to be talking about things such as sexual assault and transphobia. I want to be really clear that there could be other triggers here, so I just want you to be very careful with yourselves. If this segment gets rough for you, my request is that you step away and that you come back later. The other thing I want to bring up is that the point of this video is not to get anyone harassed or canceled or anything like that. But I also do want to make a very clear claim, a very clear thing that I want to happen, that I do want to differentiate from the concept of canceling. I think there is a very real problem with the person we're going to be talking about tonight, and I don't know what else to do at this point. So with that said, tonight I would like to talk about the streamer known as Destiny. Now, I want to be 100% clear here that we haven't talked about Destiny a lot on this stream. I've made little side comments. We've complained about some of his behavior during the whole Riley, Grace, and Doe thing, but we've never actually made a video about Destiny. And I'll be clear why that is. I think Destiny's behavior is very similar to what I would see in abusive behavior, especially in domestic abuse relationships. What I mean by that is that there's been numerous times where another content creator has gone against Destiny, and what's happened is they have been either, one, incredibly harassed, or even forced off platforms in some people's cases. One doesn't have to look too far to see the harassment of Doe, or the issues, let's say, with the way that Destiny has interacted with other content creators such as Demon Mama and Vosh. Now, my goal is not to protect those other content creators. They're big kids. They can handle it themselves. But what I want to talk about is that, as I said in the opening of the stream, 1 time is an anomaly. 2 times is coincidence. 3 times is a pattern. And there are far more than 3 times where we have seen certain behaviors. My belief is, and again, take this for what you will, I believe that Destiny is a person with somewhat social progressive values who is, for the most part, oscillates between what's useful to him, either somewhat of moderate Dem to libertarian views. I think that Destiny got big in the political sphere for him outing JonTron, and it was advantageous for him to be contrary to the alt-right. In the last year, we've seen him become more and more aggressive towards left-leaning people, including PhilosophyTube, Vosh, DM, etc. His community, based on things I've heard from former members, has been pared down to only the most sycophantic people. And while I don't want to broad base all of them, I will say there is a tendency for them, when Destiny does something, to lash out, to attack people. And we'll look at that. If you've been on Twitter recently, you will notice there's also videos circulating around. I'll talk about those, but I want to be very clear that we're not going to show them on stream. The reason for that is that I don't want to hit TOS, and I don't think they're okay to show on stream. They are inappropriate in my mind. I also have to be clear here that when I talk about this, I want to make it clear that I am using abuse here as an analogy. I can't know Destiny. I can't. I can't know what happens in his relationships. I can't know who he is as a person. I just can't. And as you saw from my meltdown last stream, I don't think you could know anyone anyway. But I can go by someone's behavior and make inductive arguments as to where I see similarities between other things that I am fairly schooled in. The things that I'm saying here are not diagnosis. I am not making any kind of prognosis. I am not trying to say anything objective or from the perspective as a clinician. Now, you'll notice at the beginning of our videos it says that anyway. I'm doubling down on it because I want to make it very clear. This is not me coming at this from the perspective of a counselor. It's me coming at it as the perspective of a person who is a streamer and also has a master's in counseling and a bachelor's in psychology. The problem with tracking the things that Destiny does, especially on Twitter, is that he has a habit of deleting all of the evidence when he immediately refuses when he refuses to give up, and people will not stop, bugging him about his really bad takes. Yes, dear.
I also want to make it clear that yes, I may be a little bit quieter in this video, but that's mostly because only one of us can be talking at a time, quite literally. Okay? So Jess and I are both in the same thing with this, and if you want to add us, you're adding both of us, not just one of us on this.
Yeah, I do think that needs to be added.
Mm-hmm.
We've said this a number of times. At this point, it's just not acceptable. If you're contacting us about something related to the channel, you need to be contacting both of us. I don't mind you reaching out to me or Zena individually, and then they can add the other person, but that needs to happen. There needs to be an understanding that this is both of our channels. So that also means if you're going to be bringing hate, you could at least put your back into it.
Yeah, right?
So with that all said, here's what happened. Back on the 2nd, a streamer by the name of Mindwaves put out this tweet. It was retweeted by Destiny, going by Omniliberal, on what now is his, I believe, 4th or 5th Twitter account. I don't know. Evading bans, by the way. Not great. Bans for previously really shitty behavior. This person posted that they had been sexually assaulted. Do not harass her. Do not bother her. She's already gone through enough shit. The only thing my community should be offering her is privacy and kindness. Nothing else. She says, a dude slipped his condom off during sex after I asked him to wear one this week, and it's been bothering me. But I was too awkward to say anything. Not even the first time this has happened. Stop doing this, men. All of this is fair. The term by this, by the way, is stealthing. It is sexual assault. If you want to check out Evie Levine, her Twitter, her videos are fantastic, but her Twitter, she actually goes through a very, in-depth discussion of why stealthing is so bad. I'd say check that out. But the short version is that the reason why stealthing is rape is because it evades the notion of consent because the social contract has changed. A person is having sex with you under certain contexts, certain agreements, contracts. Mm-hmm. The moment you change that without their consent, guess what? You have now changed the contract without their consent, and this has moved into the land of assault. Mindwaves, in his infinite, I assume it's him, infinite wisdom, never heard of this person before in my life. If you knew he took the condom off, you couldn't even bring yourself to say anything. You shouldn't be having casual sex. So immediately this falls apart as an argument because what it initially looks like is this person's an idiot and a misogynist. The reason I say an idiot is because anyone who has been through very real assault or has been in situations where there's a very real power dynamic, the idea that someone could just speak up about these things isn't always true. There's a power differential. If a 6'9" guy climbs off a 5'3" girl, guess what? Sometimes telling a person to stop doesn't work. And at that point, there is no consequence you can offer in the moment. They have the power.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind, too, is that this is an act of violence already.
True.
All right. Changing that that agreement that you've got with the other person, that you'll be wearing a condom, right? Changing that all of a sudden, in the moment, in a very sensitive moment, is just violence at that point. And so you do have people in a situation going, wait, how do I actually handle this right now? Because if this is how it started, there is a question in that moment of, okay, what's going to happen next if I say something?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So this was Destiny's response. What the fuck, dude? I understand going after small accounts that start up with you, but literally all she did was open up about being sexually assaulted. Know nothing based take. Omniliberal. Real talk. Open up about your rape and shit on Twitter is incredibly fucking weird. No, it isn't. It really isn't. This immediately is a red flag, and we're going to talk about why I don't like the term red flags, but it's the best I've got at the moment. This, to me, is a symbol. It is a signal that this person does not understand authenticity. This person does not understand how to deal with trauma when it is something that has been inflicted upon you, and should have never been normalized. I disagree. I think your method here actually leads to rape becoming more quiet and actually feeds into rape culture. Telling survivors of sexual assault that they are, and I want to be super clear here, supposed to shut the fuck up on a platform that's their own account. No, this is just silencing victims. That's all this is. I have no idea why people encourage others to trauma dump on social media. It's insanely unhealthy. It can be. I'll give Destiny this crumb. It can be. But this person shared something that I don't think was particularly all that toxic. And yeah, it is anti-Me Too. Right?
Well, and again, this is your own personal blog, like microblogging. Like, you have your own Twitter feed. People can follow that or not. You know, yeah, you can post about your own shit on there. It's fine.
I agree, psychosocialism. This is why we need to teach consent at a very young age. And that consent doesn't have to be necessarily sexual in nature. We can talk about the thing of, you know, not forcing kids to hug relatives they don't want, things like that. Those messages really matter.
Well, and you also start, when you're starting at a young age, you also start with like, hey, let's give you the language to talk about your body, right? What body parts are what? You know, there's ways to start this and then, you know, work up. Also, see our, in the summer we had some videos where we mentioned Planned Parenthood's fries consent. That would also be a really great thing to look up. Yeah, during the Kink at Pride video when we talked about the two-state solution. Yep. So this is just all gross. There's one part that has some truth to it. Technically true, it can be unhealthy. However, not necessarily useful. So when people called out Destiny for his previous nonsense, such as this, you know, supporting mind waves, and then also his previous take, which we'll look at in a little bit, essentially saying that if you are trans and you don't disclose you're trans to somebody and you don't have the genitals they're expecting, that is rape. This is what Destiny has put forth. He's tried to back down on it and go away from it, but this person legitimately believes that this is rape, that you are engaging in some break of the contract, when in my opinion, we need to break the sexist notion that you should be expecting whatever genitals. That's transphobic. That's nonsense. Well, again, when we're dealing with rape, right, like, the thing is that an act is being enacted upon another person, and just your body existing in the format that it happens to be in is not, you know, the thing that is enacting, you know, unless there's an action being done, right? Right. And if your body just existing is just existing. Yeah. And again, we've talked about this with the genital preferences video, but if you have a genital preference, maybe make that clear at the beginning of the relationship, especially if you're dating people who might be trans. Like, that's important. You could be dating a non-binary person and have no idea. So maybe have that conversation, because if that's something that's a deal breaker for you, you can bring that up. But again, Destiny's notions about how to deal with and how to engage with consent are dubious at best. If you are noticing someone is taking a condom off and you can't say anything, you probably don't have the emotional maturity to engage in sex. You should just go grab a caretaker or something and stick to masturbating to furry porn. Sorry. So this is infantilizing. Yep. Immediately infantilizing a victim of rape. Let's be very clear. This is what's happening. It also, and I'll copy pasta a little bit of Vosh's argument because I think it's accurate, and that is, nowhere in here does she say when the condom removal happened. Based on the context, I would say that she found out after the fact. And while I know some people are sensitive enough that they could maybe notice, the idea that we're holding that as a standard that everyone can is nonsensical. I have had condoms break and not know it. My partner didn't know it. Made Plan B a thing at the moment, but again, the idea that this person didn't notice until the end because the guy pulled out and lo and behold, we have a dick with no condom. This immediately is making so many assumptions about this person. It's also ignoring the ways that people freeze up. If you look at the original, the person said they felt awkward. That could mean they just felt a little uncomfortable. You know what it also could mean?
that they legitimately didn't, in any way, shape, or form, know how to bring this up because of, one, the notion of rape culture, that is, to bring this up to this person might have caused physical violence in some way or for them to be further attacked. In fact, there is a tweet I don't have here where she literally clarifies that, yeah, she discovered after. Yep, thank you, Ada Stardust. But then also, she brings up the fact that she had been sexually assaulted previous, and when she told the person to stop, they just did it more.
Well, and to be clear, this completely changes where, like, the responsibility was, right? If you start out with a condom on, like, it does not suddenly make it the other person's fault or the other person's responsibility that you took that off. Like, that whole just shifting of responsibility there is a really weird piece in rape culture.
So, of course, Destiny gets called out for this, and sorry, I want to apologize for my last tweet. You should treat every single woman you come across as a R-slur child who is incapable of voicing an opinion about literally anything. Ideally, you would bring her dad along to every fuck so he can guide her through the process. So we have the thing of immediately you're calling someone the R-slur, you're immediately infantilizing them, you're pointing out the fact that, again, you're ignoring the fact that there are power dynamics in which this person did not feel comfortable enough speaking up. By definition, this is the logic of rape culture. This is no different than the infantilization that takes place to all rape victims when conservatives go, what dress was she wearing? Or talk about the notion of, like, why didn't you just tell him to stop? What they're trying to do is move the goalpost away from the person who did the thing, that is, this person who took off a condom, is by definition at fault. And the problem is what Destiny is doing here is trying to put this on the victim. We can even go into a thing and say, what if this person had been underage? Or we can talk about other scenarios in which there's a power dynamic. Are kids that are being abused, should they just say stop and that's it? There's no context here because his infantilization renders anyone who is weaker in the situation, again, most likely cis women, and trans women for that matter, Jesus Christ, estrogen. The issue here is that what this brings up is an incredible level of misogyny, an incredible level of misunderstanding and utter ignorance of how rape culture functions. What Destiny is advocating for here...
Well, a complete lack of understanding of what consent actually is.
Absolutely. Consent, for those who don't know, is a social contract. Look at the Fry's model. We can bring that up if we need to. But the issue here is that when we're talking about this, what we're talking about is the way in which each member of an act, or members, are responsible for their actions within that. If this person removed the condom without the other person's consent, the other person could not make an informed decision. You took away their power and their volition.
You've changed the information in the system at that point.
And again, bringing it up at the end could have easily led to violence. I don't know why someone who is who is claimed to be so smart can be so fucking stupid. This is the take of a child. I'm not going to read donos or chats till the end, Tiamat. Thank you. So we'll go on. This is gross. All of this is gross. I hate all of this.
Yep.
Here's the person in question. Do not harass them or I will ban you from our community. Full stop. Maybe when men are laughing at me, literally being referring to me as the person who is a R-slur child, it is time to log off for good. Yeah. This is a conversation that was had between Hans of Akir and Destiny, in which Destiny laughed at this person being previously sexually assaulted.
Oh, shit. I think this is from the person who is the child. They said, I've actually been saying no, just made him harder. I noticed what happened after he pulled out. This is not incomprehensible that I would just walk away from that situation.
It sounds like she needs to stop having casual sex. I'm sorry.
Dude, come on. Don't do that. Don't fucking do that.
This shit is fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry. Get the fuck out of here with this stupid fucking shit. Like, every single time I walk anywhere, I'm just getting 50 million fucking times. Then stop.
She's not.
Stop fucking the same over and over again.
Based Hans, after Hans' weird ass meltdown a month or so ago, to see him go to bat against Destiny and at one point during a discussion cry because he was so fucking angry and upset. No, you know what? It doesn't fix everything the guy's done, but you know what? Based Hans, I'll give him that one. We have... Oh, I'll come back to that in a second. So, here's the thing. Despite how awful this take is, we can say that okay, this is just a one-time thing, a really bad take, right? Except again, we have the aforementioned saying that a trans person not disclosing that they're trans is rape. Buying literally into the trans panic defense. This is why I say that Destiny is not a liberal. I think he feigns liberal tendencies because I think it is a way to be advantageous. I think that he is somewhere in the idea of a moderate to a libertarian because his social values seem to be very leaning towards a conservative, at least as far as the way he presents them in the moment on twitter.com. The thing here is that Destiny's had other things. I won't show them on screen because they're real, real bad. He's informed back, I think it was in 2017, told someone to get sexually assaulted because they disagreed with him. Someone argued with him about race and he sent them a picture of a burning cross. If you go on Twitter, you can find videos of Destiny sexually assaulting a girl, coming up from behind her, and I have no other way to describe it. I'm not trying to make any kind of formal allegations. I'm just saying that's what it looked like to me. He non-consensually came up behind someone and grabbed their chest, and then laughed as they got mad and got up. Maybe I'm misreading that situation. Again, I don't know, but looked pretty sus to me. There's also a video that's floating around of a time on stream when Destiny was in a hot tub with his girlfriend, then now wife, where the implication is that he inserted himself inside of her during the stream, but there was no discussion or any kind of engagement of consent. Now, granted, I don't know what the contract of their rules of their relationship is. Maybe that's a thing. I can't say. But let me be very clear that Destiny is not a feminist by any stretch of the imagination. And he's claimed that being a liberal, the omni-liberal, is dubious at best. This also gets into things that Destiny has done in the past, such as his incredible aggression towards Demon Mama, which there are numerous receipts of. Demon Mama's community has those, including launching his community at her and hers. The way that they harass Doe. I mean, we can get into this. Cammy says, if they want to be a deer, we should be allowed to hunt them like in real life. This is a trans woman who's a member of Destiny's community saying this about the forest puppy. A person who literally harms no one. A person, at this point, we consider a friend. Talking about open violence against them. Excuse me, against it. Omniliberal saying, you get hate for respecting someone's identity, justifying the hunting claim, and feeding into Gammy's continuous toxic behavior. By the way, Gammy, and we'll get into this later, but basically Gammy is a toxic trans woman who is on Twitter. Do not harass her, do not bother her, but she is currently, I think, still banned, maybe not. But this person is incredibly awful, and they were actually going to bat for Riley even after the Doe debate. Why were they going to bat for Riley? Because if you go back to our original videos on the whole Riley Grace Rashong debacle, you'll remember something. After Riley had her falling out with Demon Mama, she had a stream following it where she had Destiny on there.
Yep.
She has... How do I say this? Against her community's better wishes, allowed Destiny to use the T-slur and also continued his bizarre hate campaign against Demon Mama. A person, by the way, that he has said that is, what was the quote? Oh, yes. Demon Mama is not a feminist or a bad feminist and a hurt to the cause. Anyone that's watched Demon Mama streams, even though I have takes that I disagree with, I can say Demon Mama's clearly a feminist. To say otherwise is just to be lying. You can dislike her. You can disagree with her. I disagree with her on a couple different points. But I still think she's an overall good person, and I see the way she treats her community, and by effect, I see the way her community interacts with us. Even though I've had criticisms, we've literally had criticisms against DM, that community's been nothing but kind to us. Mm-hmm. That's a reflection of the content creator. While DGG lashes out at people and attacks anyone that hurts their senpai.
Yep.
So for him to say that she's not a good feminist feels very projective in the common sense. It feels like there's something there where you're trying to put this on this other person when in reality that might be your own shadow. That might be your own thing. You might want to look at that, talk to somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, I don't ever do this, but can everyone report this tweet that's calling for my death? Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Fully in the right. Based and wonderful forest puppy. I will defend Doe to my dying breath, unless it does something so incredibly fucked. Feminism is when you agree with me. True, Shalibity. True. So, as I said earlier, the argument that we are making is that Destiny has a certain series of ongoing and repeating behaviors. I cannot make the claim that Destiny is being somehow, at a social level, abusive. Can't make that claim. I can't say that really wholly without me feeling like I'm stepping over a bound. However, and I really have to be super clear about this, I can say that the systems of abuse are a very useful analogy to describe these behaviors. So let's start with this. This is the
power and control wheel.
Correct. And here it talks about all the different ways that you have very real power and abuse. It talks about different variations. It talks about the use of physical violence. And it actually talks about, and I love this because of it, because the older ones don't have this, homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, heterosexism, and I would add in there cissexism. So the way that Destiny engages online, the way he attacks people, the way that he would aggressively attack Vosh. Do you guys remember those debates? Did you ever look at the debates between him and Vosh, the ones that lasted 3 to 4 hours towards the end before Vosh refused to see him again? They were abusive, at least from an analogous sense. They were using tactics, including not listening, attempting to reframe things in the most negative light possible. We can go through here. One of my critiques against Vosh, and this is a very soft critique, so please take this with a grain of salt. One of my frustrations for Vosh, not about Vosh, but for Vosh, is that I don't think he cut off Destiny soon enough. My belief, and this is my belief, is that because of the goodwill built up previously for being a member of Destiny's community before Vosh started streaming, Vosh allowed him to stay engaged with him for far too long. I think Destiny took advantage of that parasocial relationship, if I'm really honest. You can also look at Destiny's behavior now towards Vosh. there's many a stream where he's covering Vosh's content. He made one of his sound bites, a sound of Vosh saying something. To do what? Sound funny? To irritate? To what? To me, you can see this unfolding. You can see the way that Destiny swooped in right when the RGR Demon Mama thing happened and started pushing RGR. And you'll notice after Destiny started interacting with RGR more regularly, RGR's takes became more hard, more aggressive, and RGR lost a good number of her community. As far as I've talked to former mods, there wasn't just the drop-off because of the Demon Mama debacle. There was a following exodus, at least by a few people, because of Destiny's behavior. Because Destiny brought an energy to that community that the members didn't want. This also is to say that if you look, there's a lot of overlap between RGR's server, Discord server, and DGG from what I understand. I haven't looked. I'm not in either. But the fact of the matter is that there seems to be a lot of overlap there. Well, because why? Destiny backed RGR. Well, at least up until RGR bombed the debate against Doe, in which it clearly atom bombed the entire argument. Like Goku using the spirit bomb, it just destroyed the discussion in the best way humanly possible by using real logic and not just bad hypotheticals that are clearly misframed to absolutely frame the person as the most vile thing possible. Then there was a backup. You can find those clips out there. So what do we got? We have harmful threats. Yeah, there's been some of that. Stalking. We kind of say that about the Vosh thing.
No, the way that Destiny hops into will hop into debates that he wasn't actually originally part of to go talk to people on those debates.
True.
That looks real fucking sus.
True. So using intimidation, the one that stands out to me here is, well, there's that picture floating around of displaying a weapon, pointing a weapon, but can't give too much shit. Vosh did that too. Using looks, actions, gestures to reinforce homophobia, biphobia, and transphobic control. Yeah. I think that there was a very real act of transphobia on Destiny's take of the rape accusation because, and I have to be really clear on this, by saying that someone is engaging in sexual assault by not disclosing them being trans, what you are saying is that the trans panic defense is justified because the person using the trans panic defense is in self-defense. That is what that tweet is saying. There is no other read. We have some other things in chat. Ellie said Destiny dressed up like Vosh. Destiny, Ada Stardust said Destiny turning all the trans panels into the fucking N-word discourse. True. Based and true. Using emotional abuse. Humiliating. Questioning if you are real. This is what he's done to Demon Mama, right? Questioning if Demon Mama is a real trans woman. Reinforcing internalized homophobia, biphobia, transphobia. We make jokes about this. There's literally memes floating around of that one crazy chick from season 2 of Avatar that literally says, there is no transphobia in DGG. Very similar. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. Let's be very clear. That's a thing. And if anyone wants to throw the idea at me that Destiny is non-binary, okay, I can accept that. Doesn't mean that they can't be transphobic. Because let's be very clear. Blair White's a trans person. Still super transphobic. The offensive T-Slur, whose channel's still up for some reason. He is absolutely transphobic. So that buys you nothing. Let's see. Using isolation. Can't say on that one. Not really here. Although I will say some of the ways that his community has hounded somebody in their comments so hard that they had to get offline could definitely follow that. I've heard some of the stories about, what is the name of that person? Lady Blood Rain, but I don't know if enough about that situation to say whether that there was other parts to that. You're going to say something?
Oh, some of the ways that being on stream for so long with people, I think would start to feel very isolating or could have that kind of an effect on a person.
I mean, we could say that's literally what Riley used against DM. So that would be analogous, right? The 4-hour conversations between Vosh and Destiny are very similar to the 2.5-hour conversation of DM and RGR, where RGR would not let DM hang up.
Yeah.
And again, anyone that says, well, they still could, I want you to go back to the beginning of this segment, because if you think that DM should have just left, you don't understand how relationships, social contracts, and intimidation work. The fact of the matter is that by just leaving, there was a very real negative incentive that this could damage the communities. Demon Mama clearly stayed because to leave in a way that just was immediately cutting things off would be bad. That isn't someone not using their mental resources. That's not a person being a coward. That's a person being incredibly thoughtful. Mm-hmm. And because she was friends with Riley, probably trying to avoid this stuff. But again, we can see the overlap. Notice that even then, you can see from some of the early ones, Riley has used tactics both from the alt-right playbook and very similar Destiny arguments.
Mm-hmm.
Denying, minimizing, and blaming. Making light of abuse, that happens all the time. We can say this entire segment is that. Saying it didn't happen, yep. Basically, the inference of this is that this is not assault because the person didn't speak up. Shifting responsibility for abusive behavior, yup.
Yeah.
Accusing you of mutual abuse, I've seen that with the Vosh stuff. Saying women can't abuse men, women. I haven't seen that one. Saying it's just fighting, not abuse. Yeah, I mean, that's literally DGG's entire propaganda campaign, right? No doubt when they see this video, there's going to be a lot of pushing back saying, this is just, YouTube and Twitter drama rather than anything actually substantial, which it is. It is very substantial. A person is mimicking these systems of behavior. I don't remember the Kink of Pride stuff for Destiny. We were too busy focusing on RGR's terrible take, so I'll skip that one. Using privilege. I mean, let's talk about the way that Destiny forces himself into conversations, into things. The fact that Destiny, because of said privilege, again, a very large streamer, white, male presenting, or at very least white passing. I've heard some arguments otherwise. I don't know. I don't know enough about that. But the thing here is that right here, you can see that privilege. White passing, cis passing, male passing. There's a way in which Destiny can force himself onto debates, force himself into situations. And the thing is, because Destiny is such a draw, both because of the dumb shit that comes out of his mouth and because he is so large, and for some reason, no one will remove him, which we'll get to later, the fact of the matter is that there is some kind of privilege there. Whether that's a privilege based on the things we've mentioned or because of, some aspect of size. But there's a reason why Dylan Burns still has him on streams. Why Dylan Burns, why there are still, freaking Prime K panels that Destiny is on. Why? Because having Destiny on is viewers. Because of the incredible shitstorm he creates. That's a privilege. Using privilege or ability to pass to discredit you, put you in danger, cut you off. I mean, we could say this all about this because of the use of privilege to discredit Doe, attack Doe. Because of the privilege of being a larger streamer, people believe whatever comes out of Destiny's mouth, at least the people that are fans. And so as such, they're going to immediately shut down any thought about really considering Destiny's real takes and going, oh, wow, he's literally aiming his community at this person. Did he ever say go harass this person? No, at least not outwardly to my knowledge. But we talk about this all the time with right-leaning people, right? We talk about stochastic terrorism. If you keep pointing at it, Lauren Southern, if you keep pointing at, which by the way, he's retweeted Lauren Southern. Funny story.
Yeah, I got a thing when you're done.
Sure. We talk about the way stochastic terrorism works, where essentially there is a way in which a person can hint towards a thing that you should do, but doesn't ever outward come and say it. So if Lauren Southern continually says that immigrants are coming into the country and stealing, the white man's position, yada, yada, eventually crazy people are going to be crazy. And that's how you get shootings. That was, I believe, the Christchurch one, who directly stated that they were a fan of Lauren Southern. I might be remembering the wrong shooting, but I believe that's what happened. So how is it so hard to believe that Destiny isn't through these harassment interactions, and that's what I'm gonna say. These are harassment.
Yeah,
The attacks on
we can finish this out too. This wheel out. I mean,
yeah.
as far as using privilege, having a large community underneath you is a big thing, right? Especially when your community has proven that they will take actions based on things you kind of hinted at. All right. And economic abuse. That one, while this wheel is usually used in the context of, single individual relationship, an individual relationship between two people, or, more in the case of poly. Streaming is also a job for people. Okay, it is a livelihood for a lot of people. Some people are more able, to have jobs outside of that. But no, the way that when you're being targeted for harassment or targeted so much that you are forced off of a platform, that is absolutely, using tactics that would be economic abuse.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And because Destiny is so large, Destiny can outspend that person. So
Yep.
Again, literally has threatened things in tweets. We can just mark that one off. And again, coming back to this thing, the stochastic terrorist approach, the thing here is that, again, if Destiny says this person's cringe, this person's bad, this person's an idiot, if that person's substantially smaller, then they could be harmed by that. We've seen it with Doe. We've seen it with Demon Mama. Demon Mama is not a huge streamer, fairly big and grown quite a lot in the last couple of years. But to say that like they're on the same playing field is to be lying. So what the hell is my point with all of this? And by the way, we'll be coming back to some of this with some mental illness stuff later.
Yep. In case you needed to know, it is called the Power and Control Wheel. There are several versions that are out there. It's been updated as the years have gone on.
We will post it somewhere on the Discord, let people know.
You can also look it up on Google as well.
Tiamat said privilege leveraging. Yeah, absolutely. So this is the cycle of abuse. And again, I'm not saying this is directly abusive. What I'm saying is there's a analogous way that these things interact. 1, tension building. Tension increases, breakdown of communication, victims become fearful and feel need to placate the abuser. So yeah, there's a way that this seems to happen. 2, incident. Verbal, emotional, physical abuse. We can literally look at this. So tension builds, Destiny starts interacting with the whole thing that Mindwave said, and people start to give pushback, which increases the tension, and they're trying to get Destiny to build back up, sometimes with useful, skillful stuff, sometimes not. And then Destiny lashes out. Right? This is literally step 2. Step 3, reconciliation. So here's the thing.
Finish off these steps and then we'll talk about how this changes through time.
Yeah. Abuser apologizes, gives excuses, blames the victim, denies the abuse occurred, and says that it wasn't as bad as the victim claims. So the way Destiny does this on a social level is by deleting tweets or just never going back to a take. Every single tweet that I mentioned from this situation is gone. You can go look at Omniliberal's Twitter. Don't harass him. Don't bother him. Because he will lash out most likely. The way he does this is basically tries to essentially manipulate all of us into, I guess I don't know what, not having evidence, not getting them reported so it doesn't kill the account. But in some way what this does is it basically tries to minimize what happened. Yeah, it's erasing evidence.
Well, we see a lot of the blames the victim, right?
We saw blame the victim, literally what we saw.
Yeah.
Yep, blaming starting here, going here. Yep. So that this is the first tweet where it's like this person should not be having sex. This is the tweet that's like this person is an R-slur child. Followed by this, calm. Incidences forgotten, no abuse is taking place, the honeymoon phase. And this is what happens. Things go quiet. Destiny just does panels and nothing bad happens and everything's fine. Other than the tweets are
cool, whatever.
Yeah, except for they, of course, being on panels and being weird about Vosh. And then it starts up again. So you have the Doe RGR drama. You have this nonsense. You have every single time this has happened and following this thing.
So the thing to know with this is that in small relationships, we're not talking about like individual people versus a larger creator. is that this cycle moving through this can have different speeds. Okay? That can also shift over time. It can shift from like going through all of these steps, really, really fast for a little while. Sometimes it slows down. It can go really, really fast again later. Some of it depends on what other stresses are going on, that are affecting it from the outside. This can speed up and start just skipping steps too, right? You can kind of keep going from like 1, 2, 3 back to 1 again and keep going through this really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just some of the context with this in particular.
Yeah. So with all of that said, Destiny's arguments here for this particular situation are nothing short of disgusting. I condemn them. Zena condemns them.
Absolutely.
The reason why we're speaking out about this is because despite the fact that there is a concern, and there is, of retaliation, we've taken every step we can to make sure that doesn't happen. Though if it does, kind of falls into our point a little bit.
Yeah. Also, we're not scared.
True.
Yep.
Right? So here's the thing. And what I want you to understand here is that going back through this argument very clearly, here's what's up. A person said that they were sexually assaulted by the act of stealthing. A content creator grabbed a hold of that like an idiot and platformed that person's assault and then basically talked back to them in the most rape culture way possible.
Yep.
A larger content creator than that person, because I believe Destiny is larger than Mindwaves, proceeded to jump on this, and when pushed on this issue, especially because of the previous trans people being rapists nonsense, what ended up happening is Destiny lost his shit and started spreading rape apologia. And what happened from there is that the internet lost its collective shit because this is a monumental bad take. Even members of DGG were not fans of this. Here is the thing. Why am I telling you all of this, despite the possibility that there will be consequences? Because there has never been a fight that I or Zena have ever walked away from. While we do not do debates, there have been times where, with much trepidation, we have spoken back against content creators that we thought were either in error or were doing demonstrable harm. With some folks, such as, say, Jesse Gender, I felt during the We Spa incident did not go hard enough or question the cis-sexist narrative that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
This was the conclusion Zena and I came to.
Yeah.
The fact is that Jesse Gender, being an adult and good person, heard our concern and went with it and made sense. And while I still think there are many things that Jesse and I disagree on, because I do think Jesse is a little bit more interested in assimilationism than I am, I respect her greatly because she heard me. Because she was willing to take criticism. Demon Mama's the same. Demon Mama was willing to hear us on some of the things, even watching our videos and agreeing with some of our critiques.
Mm-hmm.
Vosh made a joke about the video involving, the Luna Oi stuff and all that, but the reality is, we've done 3 separate videos tearing Vosh apart. Kink at Pride, the shame video, and the neo-pronouns video, which I stand by all 3. And yet, Vosh prompted up our channel because we, rightfully so, agreed with him about a factually historical thing. So what the hell is my point with all this? I think the issue here is that we need to think about this differently. And my argument here is very simple. I'm not asking for canceling. I'm not asking for whinging on Twitter. This is what I honestly think everyone should do. I think you need to mass and mega block Destiny, find the largest tweet on his Twitter, and then proceed to run it through the mega block app so you will get up to 2,000 of his followers blocked as well, simultaneously. It's a great app, megablock.xyz. Following that, and this is what I really want to do, I think that there should be a boycott of panels that Destiny is on. If Destiny appears on a panel, leave. Drop from chat and leave. Watch it on your favorite content creator's channel later and give them the view. I don't care how engaging it is. I don't care how spicy the drama is. What I am asking for is complete boycott of Destiny's content in every way, shape, or form, with the agreement to try to deplatform him. Because this is not a single incident. A single incident would be an anomaly. 2 incidences would be a coincidence. This is a pattern. A long-standing pattern of what appears to be analogously abusive behavior towards the whole of the online community. And we cheered it on when it was being done against right-leaning people because, let's face it, they do the same shit. But we were so busy being okay with weaponizing it that we didn't stop to think about, just for a second, that he's using their tactics.
Yep.
And then he started going against lefties, making bad arguments about how we should be giving up money when in some way he just couldn't understand that, well, yes, it would be nice if people could. There's nothing compelling them to do so. We have to create incentives to do that. This is basic behaviorism, bitch. The problem here is that there is no more any kind of fix to this. Could it be possible that Destiny could redeem himself? Sure. I'm open to that. This channel is built on the notion that rehabilitation is a thing. But if you'll notice from the conversations we've had on here, there are circumstances, and words I won't bring up right now, but there are circumstances we've brought up where, and I have to be very clear about this, one, a person, if they want to be rehabilitated, has to try. I have no faith and hope that Destiny will do so at all. He has proven to be bad faith in every conversation I've had. The last good debate I saw Destiny in was the discussion with him, Vosh, and Viv, and the one before that was when the 2 of them were tag teaming those Nazis. Think about how far back some of those conversations were. It's one thing for Vosh to speak out against Destiny because Vosh is about equal size. The reality here is that everyone needs to speak up. Yep. Panels need to be forced to keep him off. The harm that he does is not worth the views.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to make really clear here is that this doesn't mean go harass him. This doesn't mean, bother him. I'm serious. Mega block him and every one of his fans. If you have members of DGG in your Discords, I'm going to make it really clear. Unless they're a mod that's approved to do so, I think members of DGG should be removed. If you're in DGG, I'm sorry. If you want to talk to us, if you really want to have a difference of opinion, sure. But I can't interact with people that are clearly part of a community with someone who says this kind of shit. I will not subject my community to someone that will try to justify those points.
And if you're in DGG and you need to get the fuck out, do it. Get the fuck out.
I know other content creators try to be more, I don't know what the term would be, but they try to be, okay with, yeah, you want to watch this person, do it. That's fine, even if they disagree with me. And I generally hold that position, as does Zena.
Well, and to be clear, disagreement, right, is a much different thing than out and out active harm. Okay, disagreeing on takes and some of the effects of those takes, yeah. You know what, there's a lot of ways that we could reach a conclusion, having good values and how we want the world to be. There's a lot of ways to get there. But when you're doing this level of harm, no, that's not the same as being in disagreement with somebody.
Yeah. Well, and additionally, I'll come back to my second point from earlier. Not only do I think rehabilitation in this case is impossible, but also in some cases of rehabilitation and other discussions we've had, sometimes rehabilitation isn't fun. Sometimes it requires things. In the cases of certain types of abusers, we've literally said these people should be institutionalized. Should those institutions be reformed so this meets human rights levels and that these people are treated well? Yes. I don't care what they fucking did. They're human.
Rehabilitation does not mean that you instantly get all your status and everything back either.
But
some of that stuff doesn't just come back after that.
Yeah, and to me, if Destiny wants to, improve, great. But regardless or not, I don't think you should have an online presence. I just don't. I feel comfortable saying that this is so harmful that I don't know how you come back from it.
And
you
some
literally
of this stuff should never come back for some people. Yeah.
Yeah, you literally greenlighted a trans woman threatening a non-binary person. Kira says, back when I was a mod in the RGR roundtable, so back in late 2020, we had some DGGers in the community that would pop up from time to time. They were always a problem and carefully monitored because they would need moderation. Fair. I cannot stress this enough. Block Destiny. Block his fans.
Don't give a view to any of the streams he's on.
If people want to treat that as an L, I don't care. Take the L. Sometimes you gotta. I'm sorry. Take the L. And guess what? Any stream, anytime, if any of your favorite streamers go on there, they should be called out. If your favorite streamer has this person on and they are a very different in size, you need to call out the streamer and be clear with them. This is not okay. Just like RGR's community called her out. I want to quarantine this person away from the online left. There are others that I have the similar critique to. I'm not going to bring them up today, but this is the most egregious that comes to mind. And we've covered the shit that Luna Oi has said. We've covered the crap that Professor Flowers has said, but that's all hypothetical Magic Land shit. It's just them saying horrible stuff. This is talking about a real abuse victim. I don't mean that to be the appeal to emotion here, but that's what it fucking is. This is not something you logic your way through technically correctness and being a terrible person. No. It's you using your empathy for 5 seconds and realize you don't treat someone like this and call yourself a liberal or a leftist. You can't. That behavior is so utterly an anathema towards the whole of our values.
Mm-hmm.
Threatening to have someone hunted is an anathema to our values. So here's the thought. Just like we dealt with Lily Orchard, and just like we've dealt with other people, we'll deal with this situation too. I expect to get some shitty stuff in the comments. I expect to have my transness questioned by some of DGG. I expect that all sorts of stuff will happen.
People might try and come in our Discord server and say shitty things or post shitty stuff. By the way, I'm ahead of you.
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing, and I really have to be clear on this. You as viewers need to realize you have more power than you believe you do. Our voices only matter when you exalt them, when you put them out there.
This is true. Yeah.
And the fact is that you can compare streamers together and look at their behaviors. I don't see Demon Mama's community going out and harassing people. There's claims against Vosh's. I've yet to see any kind of substantial evidence to that. But DGG, we literally just saw a tweet of Gammy.
Mm-hmm.
Acting what I can only describe as horrific, especially for a trans woman. Come on now. So I'll have my final thought on this. Do you have anything you want to add before we finish up?
Occasionally we'll get questions about how you avoid really toxic communities. Going through and looking at the behavior of various communities like we did can be really helpful. There is also another version of that wheel, and it's the flip of that. It's called the equality or equity wheel, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Showing the positive ways, that equality and equity is shared in a relationship. All right, you can look at that side of it too. If somebody's takes, hey, does it show that they understand what consent is, right? You can look at the Fry's models from Planned Parenthood. being able to pick through these things, pick through the actions and look at them is the way to sort out whether or not a community or a content creator is acting, in a way that would be called toxic.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't say this stuff lightly about content creators. I hate doing it. I really wish there could be more civil and very real discussions about this stuff. The problem being is that I think a lot of the debate bro claims are really just claims against Destiny. And the thing I wanted to point out to all of you is there's basically 3 people who are essentially the children of Destiny as far as content creator wise, the lineage of Destiny. You have Hassan, Vosh, and Xanderhal. Now, I know everyone compares Xanderhal to Vosh, but in reality, he's, more in the lineage of Destiny. Maybe, cousins. And here's the thing. I need you to understand. All of them are better streamers. All of them have better arguments. Mm-hmm. All of them are growing in prominence. They all started off a little rough. Hassan has arisen to incredible prominence. Vosh is just as big and growing bigger. Also, you'll notice a lot of Vosh's cancellations, a lot of the bigger stuff that happened in the past. You notice he's calmed down from that shit?
Yep.
It's almost like being away from DGG helped in some way. I don't know if it did, but maybe. Mm-hmm. Xanderhal's gotten way better in argumentation. Xanderhal's much more mature than he once was. Back from his days of being Pig Puncher. It's weird how people started off very similar to the aggressive rhetoric of Destiny and then grew up. And you know what? I hope Destiny does someday too. We'll see you next time. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, consider donating to us. You can support us on our website, transgirltherapist.org. You can also help us on our Patreon, link below, or you can become a member here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching.